Hello, my name is Larry Johnson. I'm the owner of Soaring Eagle Lodge. I'm here at Bob Marriott's today, excited to give my presentation, and we call it Heaven on the San Juan. And in a merger, this is a good pattern, but also we use a lot of foam wings. I don't know if you've seen that. And again, it's gray and chocolate, and instead of the hackle coming out, we got a little puff of marshmallow of foam. And those are very, because they suspend in the water, and again, that's fished usually from about noon on, and that's when those midges are turning into the little black flies. So this shows our foam wing there, some of the different pupa patterns over there, which is Johnny Flash. That's a local guy, Johnny Gomez. They came up with that, with a little thing. A CDC, Lewis tying a fly similar to that. And again, our two primary colors are usually chocolate and gray. Dries, again, we're fishing usually a 26 to a 10. Parachute Adams or parachute midge, any parachute pattern that you got, usually on the midges, they are very small. But it's probably one of the most versatile. If I had to have one fly in my box, it'd be a parachute Adams. You can, on the tournaments, we fish those, and you can cut the parachute off, you can fish it as a nymph, you can cut the tail off. There's just so much you can do with that fly, color it and what have you. But that will emulate both the blue wing and the midge for us, and it's one of our go-to flies, if you will, in our dry box. Blue wings, betas, any of your popular patterns will work down there. I'm trying to think of the name. We got an upwing fly, but I call it the one fish fly, because once a fish bites it, it's done and stuff. But they'll eat it pretty much every time. And I think that's a solitude fly. Caddis again, for what we say is UR, that's upper river. LR is actually should be mid-river to lower river. Ants, when the ants fall, they're everywhere. So that's the whole river and the lake. In fact, some days when the ants fall, some of us will go up and we call it Rocky Mountain bone fishing. The carp come out of the lake and they eat the ants up there, and we're getting 25, 23 pounders on a size 10 ant. And you can just see their big lips sucking off the ants off the top of the water. But our trout do the same thing. Again, hoppers, same thing. We'll fish that a little bit later than the ants. The ant fall is usually mid-July. Again, it's that first big rain. As late as August 1st. We had some really dry years when we didn't get it. Once those nests flood, and like I said, the main queen survives, the rest of those ants are all thrown. And you can see the little worker ants just pulling these guys out of the nest and throwing them out. They're just going, and the other ones are trying to run back in, and they won't let them in. They're fighting them off, but saying, "Hey, I'm not getting lunch anymore." So they end up being lunch. And then again, streamers. That's usually a morning or afternoon deal, except in the wintertime we can fish them, and we're fishing those when the hatches are over. Some samples of our dry. The betas, the comparadon, that one on the bottom right over there to your right, that's a very effective pattern. It's an elk hair, and we also do it in a CDC, which I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little bit higher up there. Of course, the parachute, the little black midge. This on gray days, real cloudy days, when you can actually see that the water looks just like silver, and then you can see the midge. You can cast them 30, 40 feet and still see them out there. Those are very effective on those days. Other days are very hard to see, because if the sun's out, the water's dark, and your fly's dark. And then here's that upwing betas I was talking about before. So of course, the Griffith's gnat. We're fishing this in a very small, probably, well, I guess not that small, 18 to 26. And that's emulating the midge cluster. Because when the midges, after they do come up, they all get together. The boys and the girls get together, do their thing. Of course, the guy dies, and then the female flies off and has babies. But we'll fish these as midge clusters. Sometimes you'll see those fish coming up, tempted to get them. But this hackle, what I'll do is take my nips and I'll come under here and I'll cut it flat. And when it sits down on the water, I get a much better response. So some days you don't have to do that, but some days they want it flat on the water like that. So, the blue wing comparadon, again, there's another elk hair, and we do get pale morning duns. That's usually probably the middle to the end of July through the middle to the end of September. Our caddis, again, all the traditional patterns. I think the next slide has the stimulators on there, but for the case caddis, we're fishing the very traditional up hairs, and again 16s, 18s, and 20s, and doesn't show the color, but peacock, because every once in a while we get black caddis. There's a couple of years that come out that are pretty thick. We fish yellow, gold, and orange. And then here's the infamous stimulator by Mr. Roy Kaufman. And again, that's when our creeping caddis, that's really the first wave on the big guys. And those have to be moved. I mean, you'll put those on the riffles, have them come down, those fish will come up. And if you don't move them, so what we're doing is we're casting them up, then bringing your rod tip up, you skid them over 3 feet, let them drift, skid them over 3 feet. And it's kind of hard, the fish will miss them a lot, they'll be cartwheeling over them, but as soon as you move them, then they'll be attracted. If you just drift them down, you'll kind of take a look, but usually you get the big R, rejection, or they'll flip you the fin. We actually have one called the skunk now. It's totally black with the white capstop on it, and we fish that for the caddis and the eagle, so it's very effective for both. Terrestrials, these are probably some of my favorite ant patterns. This is called the Turks. It's one of the few barbless hooks that comes in. We actually pull the rubber legs off. They're kind of more for, I guess, a bigger river, Montana type of river with faster water and what have you. We're fishing a lot of dry flying flats with these. We see the fish targeting the ants as they're floating down, and it gives a better silhouette without the rubber legs. But again, a little hard to see, but there's a big white tuft in that, and that's exactly the size of our carpenter ant. And then we do it again in a cinnamon color. Up to the top right over there, that's called the Charlie Boy hopper, and that we actually now get in black. We kind of hide it, and they call it cricket, and that's another great pattern for the ant. I fish that in water with no rising fish after the ant fall, and the fish comes 6 feet off the bottom just to hit that. We do get some beetles because we have a lot of the pinon trees around the river and stuff, and they'll fall off the trees and get in there, so it's always good to have a few of those in the box. And then the other is just another variation of the ant. Quality waters versus the private lands. A lot of people don't know in New Mexico, when I moved out there, I was used to fishing rivers in Montana or wherever, and you didn't go across a guy's ranch to get in the river, but if you went to the bridge, you can go anywhere you want, as long as you kept your boots wet. Well, in New Mexico, we actually own the stream bottoms. We don't own the water, but we own the stream bottom. So private is private. People can float through, but they can't anchor, get out, or stop, and they can't even bounce lead on the bottom. So it's, you just want to make sure you have permission. I have 2 miles of private water that we limit to 6 rods per day. We have a lodge beat in front of the lodge, which we'll show you later, and everybody that stays with us can fish there. But if you want to be one of the 6, you got to sign up, and then you'll have the whole ranch. We usually weight it for some people. If they're elderly or whatever, we can put a boat in it, but it's very easy. River rock and sand and gravel. It's not like the sandstone up by the dam. It's being carved out to the bottom. As you can see, the dynamics of the river, like I said, it's hard to explain. I mean, it's got everything. It's got the pools, it's got the rifts, it's got the runs. But when you just see the amount hanging out in there, and with all those islands, when those bugs do hatch, there's just huge breeding grounds and mating areas that it's just one of the most prolific rivers when it comes to bug life and being able to produce a massive head of fish in a river that basically there would be suckers or catfish, I think, without the dam. Talk about, like I said, the 3 stages of the river. I said the middle of the river is more like a freestone than a tailwater because you get higher water temperatures, you get different bottom. It hasn't been scoured out from the dam, and it's more like a natural river. The fish are not quite as many. You don't get the head count that you get up by the dam just because all that food comes out of the bottom of the dam and all the bugs up there. But our 15-incher will take it to the back and as big as the 22-incher because he hasn't been caught twice enough. In the lower river, you can fish bigger flies overall. I couldn't do it myself. Of course, Jake lets me sign the checks, but it's really Leslie. Like every other business, if it wasn't for her, when I ran the shop, I bought a lot of shirts, but they were olive khaki. Not that they went crazy yellow. She's got checks, and she's got me dressed well and stuff. But she's my partner out there, and those are our 2 black labs, soon to be joined by Gus, who's there now. And Jake's totally blind under Leslie's arm, but kind of like an institution here. I remember when Harley used to walk around and stuff, so good dogs, part of the program.